What's up guys, and welcome back to Cycle Smart episode 4. That's right, we're 4 deep already. This episode is all about speed and control. The 3 topics we're going to be learning about in this episode are 1. Body position, how to configure your body while riding. 2. Gear choice, which gear to choose and why. And then finally 3. Braking, how to control how you slow and stop. These 3 skills combined is what's going to give you all the confidence you're going to need to ride safely and efficiently. So thanks for showing up. Let's get after it. All right, first on the chopping block is body position. Ask any biker and they will tell you that proper body position is the foundation to every mountain biking skill. This section is where our coaches Dan and Isaac show us 3 unique body positions and what they can do for our riding. Roll the clip.
So in this demonstration, we're going to show you a little bit about body position and how it can help you in controlling your bike. What I'm going to do, I'm going to grab Isaac's handlebars. I'm going to grab his front wheel with my legs like this. You can try doing this at home or at school, wherever you are. And Isaac is going to be in his seated position first. This is a really good position for riding around town, for riding on smooth paved trails or even some smooth off-road trails. But it is not very good for your control. If Isaac hit a big bump right now, he may not be able to react, to be able to move the bike underneath him. He may end up getting bucked off, or it could just be really unpleasant and uncomfortable. So what we're going to do now, Isaac's going to stand up in his neutral position. Okay, so his legs are almost straight, a little bit of a bend to them, his arms are straight, his head is up high, so he can see what's coming down the road or on the trail. And if there is a small bump, he'd be able to soak this up just fine with his legs. But if we're coming into a really rough section on a bike trail, or even on the road if there's a pothole, may want to jump up, stand up, and then drop down into a ready position. So you see, we'll get his elbows up a little bit like that, so he's in a nice braced position to absorb any impact, and his legs are bent so he can take any bumps that are coming up through. Give it a little bounce, Isaac. There you go. So he's kind of loaded up like a spring. And this is a good position for cornering too, if you're standing up and cornering off-road. It's also a really good position to start braking from. So if he's going to brake really hard, he's going to get even lower and then slightly rearward and even drop his heels a little bit, because then he's in a really strong brace position to brake really hard. Whereas if you were sat down, sit down again for me, Isaac. If he was sitting like that, hit the brakes really hard, he's just going to pivot over his front wheel and he's going to crash, which may be why some of you are a little scared about using the front brake sometimes. So that pretty much sums it up. You're going to get a much more pleasant ride, you'll get faster, you'll be safer. You'll be able to avoid obstacles and soak them up if you have to ride through them. So practice that with a friend and practice that out on the trail. So it's a beautiful sunny day. Isaac felt like going out for a bike ride. But the night before it was really windy and a tree fell. Sitting down isn't very good for riding over trees. So after Isaac's last painful mishap, he remembered that riding in the ready position while hitting obstacles is a better idea. So smooth.
Oh yeah.
This section is where we learn about the magical world of shifting and gears. Gear choice makes a huge difference in your riding. It can spell the difference between a grueling climb and an easy one. You can win or lose a race just based on what gear you choose. Our coaches Isaac and Andy, that's me by the way, are going to be dropping some excellent knowledge on you. I can tell you're already pumped, so let's get amongst it. So as we start it, let's take a look at how your gears work. This diagram shows what's called a drivetrain. It roughly consists of 3 major parts. The first is your front sprocket or chainring. This handy little guy is the main gear attached to your pedals. When you pedal, you rotate your chainring, which in turn rotates the chain. Speaking of the chain, this is part 2 of the drivetrain. The chain is what connects everything together. It's slotted into the chainring and loops back around your back cassette. When your chain is being turned by the front chainring, your cassette is turning as well. It's pretty important because without your chain, you're not going anywhere. Lastly, you have what's called a cassette. Your cassette is that multi-stack of gears on your back axle. Your chain will ride up and down those gears as you shift, which is great because now you have a choice of large gears ranging down to small gears. And every time you shift up and down, you're choosing a new gear on your cassette. Which gear you choose will determine the speed at which your pedaling will propel you. Let me demonstrate. In this clip, we're seeing two riders starting out at opposite gears. Isaac in his highest gear and Andy in his lowest. Take a look at how fast each of them are pedaling to accelerate. Now you can watch as Isaac demonstrates how much more efficient it is to cycle through your gears instead of staying in one gear like Andy does. And finally, if you want to see if your shifting game is on point, the easiest thing to do is to race someone. You'll be able to tell pretty quick if you're shifting well or not.
So whether you're riding on the road, a paved trail, or a dirt trail, you always have to be ready for changing surface conditions. That means looking ahead and making sure you're ready to adjust your speed and your balance. Silly Dino.
I heard a great quote one time: if you can't stop, don't even start. Braking is vital for your mountain biking, but it's more than just grabbing a handful of front brake and locking the tires up. Dan and Isaac are going to be showing us how to use this tool to navigate those roads and trails safely and to always be in control. Let's go!
Okay, in this lesson, we're going to show you how important it is to use both brakes and not just to rely on one, especially if you just ride around relying on the rear brake. We're going to do that by showing you a few examples of using just our rear brake and then see how much faster we can stop when we're using both brakes. I know my buddy Isaac, he really enjoys doing skids, but you got to remember, ride, don't slide. Woo! Isaac, that wears out the trails and it wears out the tires.
Oh.
And your parents' wallet.
That's it for this episode on speed and control. I hope you learned a heap of fun stuff that you can use on your next ride. Let's quickly go over what we talked about today. First, we learned about how to position yourself on your bike for maximum balance, responsiveness, control, and general awesomeness. Next, we talked about the importance of gears and how to maximize your pedal power. And finally, we talked about slowing down and braking, how to use both your brakes to control your speed safely. Thanks for riding with us today, and we'll see you in the next episode. Later.